coming from conservatives, and they're now so enthused about this. Like, we've got them. Like, it's out in the open. They're Satanists. Right. Okay, academic agents.
I have a couple of comments, Richard, which is, they're just two like observations, I guess. The first one is that it occurred to me that we're living through the most boring version of like Pasolini's Salo or something like that, because that's what it sounds. I mean, if you ever sat down and watched Salo, even though you're watching like orgies, it is stripped of all, like it's not sexy. It is like kind of sterile. What you're circling around there is a concept which the left have long been obsessed with, which is dialectics, right? And this is something I've tried to talk about before. It seems to me that a lot of the left's worldview is kind of stuck in a freeze, 1975 or something. So they have to maintain a fiction, really, that they are not the dominant culture, that they are still the emergent culture, right? And to me, I've said for a long time that one of the things that kind of drives me up the wall about the right, broadly speaking, is that they always play into the dialectical trap of the left, which is if you're reacting to them, they are basically controlling the turf, because the reaction is what they're looking for. So all of the outrage about Sam Smith, it actually validates the left's view of themselves as being somehow edgy. The right was always on its strongest footing. I mean, really, the last time this happened was during what I like to call the alt-right 1.0. That was essentially you guys, Richard, right? Where the left was reacting in some way to us rather than vice versa. If they are reacting to you, they're somehow having the conversation on your turf. If you're reacting to them trying to do so, the outrage cycle is kind of self-perpetuating, and unfortunately, it's like the right has an addiction. They cannot help themselves kind of lean into that dialectical trap over and over and over again. And the longer things go on, go on.
Yeah, this is great. I totally agree. I mean, I have some more to add to this as well. I think also the right can't justify itself outside of yelling at the left, leave us alone, or you're bad, or something like that. Like there's no there in some way to the right. All it is a kind of endless outrage cycle to leftist advances, whether it's Sam Smith dressing up like Satan or transsexuals on TikTok or whatever. It's just this kind of like endless no. And again, you need to kind of like affirm yourself. You've somehow made an 18th century aristocratic orgy unsexy. Like, what a remarkable accomplishment. You've somehow done it. It's so overtly satanic that it's almost deeply Christian, in the sense that this notion of being of Satan doesn't exist outside of a dominant Christian worldview. So in a way, it's reinforcing a dominant Christianity in society, a negative Hitler at the center of the donut. And so anything is possible outside of being Hitler.
Yeah, I mean, that is, I mean, I have a concept that, I don't know if any of your listeners will know about this, but good 3 years ago now, I had a YouTube video series called the Boomer Truth Regime, whereby the ultimate good is something like unlimited individual self-expression, and the ultimate bad is the mid-century Germans. And all things revolve around, like it's almost like everything in the culture has a reference back to it, the kind of founding mythologies, I guess, where there is an ultimate evil at the, at the base of what launched this what I call a truth regime, which is obviously a terrible event that happened in the mid-century, perpetuated by the ultimate evil.
Right.
So therefore, all enemies of the regime become a cipher of Hitler, effectively. Whereby, I mean, do you remember the whole attempt in the 2000s to remember Islamofascism? Do you remember that?
Yes. Yes.
Or whether it's the Ayatollah Khomeini or Milosevic or Saddam Hussein. I mean, they're all basically stand-in. Even Stalin, for a period, was a stand-in Hitler. People think of the Cold War as a war against kind of quote-unquote far-left communism. But really, if you kind of get under what was happening there, kind of like I mean, this is going to sound very odd, but in a strange way, Stalin had become a kind of reactionary figure by the time he died. I kind of feel like the USA was the progressive force in the Cold War.
Yeah, I totally agree. Communism attacks the body. Liberalism rots the soul. Communism, they can starve you, they can enslave you, they can beat you up in the middle of the night. But there's something almost more toxic about the liberal meme that's out there. I think there's definitely a lot of truth to that.
I wrote a book called The Populist Delusion last year that I'm grateful that a lot of people bought, because it seems...
Hold on, you wrote that book?
I wrote the book Populist Delusion, yes. So if you...
oh my
if you
God.
have
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, this is one of those strange things where I have, my name on that book. I'm Roland Rat on Twitter, and I'm Academic Agent on YouTube. And there are lots of people who follow me, watch me on YouTube, follow me on Twitter, and own the book and don't know I'm the same person in all three places. But
that's me. Overjoyed that we're together. That's really good to hear. It's incredible. I didn't put two and two together because I read The Populist Delusion. I really enjoyed it, and then I'm meeting the author. Wow, that's great stuff. I'm glad. I'm definitely glad you're here.
Arguably, the MAGA movement, or what the MAGA movement has become,
is
arguably like the most pro-black, pro-democracy movement, like in the history of the world. I feel like, I mean, when we were talking about the boomer truth regime, I feel like in a way, like the left have already deconstructed that in their own way, and they already don't believe in democracy. They understand power.
Yeah.
So the left have kind of instinctively understood all this stuff already, and now they're in power. They're just going to be ruthless, right? One of the things that the research for that book threw up was that the linear conception of history is inextricably bound up with Christianity, and in fact, the progressive view of history actually comes out of a kind of radical Protestants who overturned Augustine's view of history, but that was still linear. And most traditions have had this kind of cyclical conception, but it's Christianity that insists on the linear one. It's very difficult for the children of the winter to embody the spirit of another time, right? As the children of winter, it's very difficult to, be the summer or be the spring, right? And in a strange way, it's almost like impossible for someone like Bolsonaro or Trump to, become the Caesar in this moment. I hate to say this, but I feel like the age of the Caesars may have come, been, and gone, right? Like maybe Franco was the last one or something. But that's something that we have to consider, really. That is it possible now in this day and age for people like a Franco or a Hitler or Mussolini to emerge? Because obviously all of those guys lived through like grim hardship. They were, they were masters of organization. I spend my day shit posting on Twitter and taking pictures of my coffee. Like I grew up watching bloody the A-Team and WWF wrestling. You understand the point though, right? How are any of us who are children of this age, meant to get back to those kind of martial values, because they're not in, like, it's difficult. And I think that you, Richard, may have come up against some of the limits of that, in what happened in the 2016, 2017. It's like, well, you were trying to channel those things, but you came up against like the limits of what does that look like now, right? Spengler talks about the four estates, like the first estate, and a lot of like people like Evola and so on. They talk about the warrior caste, the priests, the merchants, and the peasants, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's very compatible with elite theory, because it's literally just a question of which faction is on top, right? So when the warrior caste are in charge, broadly speaking, you've got something that looks like kind of authentic feudalism, something like that. When the priests are in charge, you get something like a theocratic state or something like that. When the merchants are in charge, of course, you get something that looks like the 19th century, right? Mm-hmm. Obviously, now we live in a kind of managerial order, but that managerial order is dominated by a coalition of merchants and intellectuals who are, mm-hmm. broadly speaking, the fox classes, right? Between the lions and the foxes, that they're both fox types, masters of persuasion,